The night had drained away, but morning didn't bring peace. Only a thinner kind of darkness. The house felt hollow, like its walls had been stretched overnight, pulling the air apart. Ayan woke up with a strange heaviness, the kind that sits on the chest before the eyes even open. The first thing he noticed was the silence. A dead, unmoving silence, as if every sound had gone somewhere else. Not paused, escaped. He turned his head slowly, expecting to see sunlight leaking through the curtains, but the room remained dim, swallowed by a colorless haze. The clock beside him blinked the wrong time again. 4 a.m., the hour everything in this house feared the most. And yet he knew he had slept much longer. He always did. This house didn't let him wake normally. For a moment he didn't move. The memory of the previous night crawled back. The knocking, the whispering, the voices that weren't voices at all. The scratching beneath the floorboards. The door trembling as if someone pressed their forehead against it from the other side. He blinked, and his breath caught. The floor beside the bed was dusty, but there was a fresh footprint in it, not his, not human. Something with long, bony toes, deeply pressed into the gray powder, pointed toward his bed, toward him. His throat tightened. Had something stood there while he slept? He swung his legs down, and this time the wooden floor creaked unnaturally, like it was breathing, expanding and contracting slowly, pushing air up through its seams. He stood, but his knees trembled as if his own body didn't trust him to walk toward the door. Something had changed about it. The door seemed taller now, slightly bent outward at the middle, as if something inside had pushed against it all night and warped the frame. The knob had faint scratches, thin but frantic. Something had tried to get out, or get in. Ayan couldn't decide which option was more terrifying. When he opened the door, the hallway greeted him with its long spine-like stretch, the overhead light flickering in slow, uneven pulses. The wallpaper had started peeling downward in long curling strips, like dried skin. The entire passage carried a strange, cold smell, metallic, but wet. A scent he had begun noticing every time the house grew restless. He took one step, then another, and the wooden boards beneath him gave off soft thuds, as if something under them followed his footsteps with a delay, an echo that didn't belong to him. From the end of the hallway, the basement door stood slightly ajar. It had not been open last night. A thin line of darkness seeped from the gap. Not ordinary darkness, but a thicker form, like ink swirling slowly upward, dissolving into the stairwell. Ayan felt his heartbeat stretch thin. Every instinct screamed not to go near that door. But something inside him, a pull stronger than logic, guided him forward. He felt the air shift as he approached. The temperature dropped so quickly his breath turned white, drifting ghost-like toward the opening. A faint whisper floated from below, fragmented, broken, like someone underwater speaking through a mouth full of mud. Ayan, don't leave me, not again. He froze. He knew that voice, but it was impossible. It sounded like Sadia, his sister, the one who vanished last year inside a different house on a different night. His blood ran cold as the voice repeated, this time softer, almost pleading, almost human. His mind twisted between fear and longing, and the house felt it. The walls tightened. The floor beneath him vibrated with a low humming, like something huge shifting below the surface. Ayan stepped back, but before he could turn around, the door to the basement swung wider on its own. No slam, no creak, just a smooth, silent glide, like a mouth opening patiently. A slow draft pushed out, carrying the smell of wet earth and something older. The whisper returned, layered now. Sadia's voice mixed with others behind her, dozens of them, whispering in perfect unison. Come down. Come see what we saved for you. His legs refused to move, trapped between the instinct to run and the terrifying pull of the voices trying to anchor him. His heartbeat hammered so loudly he wondered if something else in the house was hearing it too. The shadows along the walls shifted, stretching their limbs like living creatures waking from sleep. One shadow detached itself from the corner, tall, bent, with long, crooked arms. It didn't walk. It slid forward like it floated across the floor. No sound. No, wait. Ayan stumbled backward, but the hallway behind him had changed. It had grown longer. The far wall had been swallowed by darkness, stretching the corridor into a tunnel that didn't exist before. He realized then the house wasn't reacting to him. It was manipulating itself around him. A shadow figure reached the middle of the hall and stopped. Its head tilted slowly, unnaturally, like a broken puppet. Then a soft, crackling voice came from its chest. Not its mouth, because it didn't have one. You heard her. Go down. Ayan's breath shattered in his lungs. His hand slapped against the wall, searching for something solid, something real. But the wallpaper felt wrong. It pulsed beneath his palm, warm and soft like living flesh. He jerked his hand away in panic. The lights flickered again, once, twice, then died. The world collapsed into pitch black. Then footsteps, slow, measured, coming up the basement stairs. One step, another, another. Ayan backed against the opposite wall, his hands shaking uncontrollably. The footsteps kept rising, each one heavier than the last, each one bending the wooden stairs under its weight. The air thickened with the smell of wet soil and decay. The whispering from below grew louder, swirling around him like a cold wind. The steps stopped just before the top. Silence, a breathing silence, a waiting silence. Then a voice, inches from the darkness. Ayan, open your eyes. But he already had. There was nothing to see. Yet something enormous stood in front of him, close enough for him to feel its breath. Warm, damp, impossibly slow. And then, a single hand came out of the darkness. Pale, long, bony, and dragging a trail of soil across the floor. That was when he realized whatever lived beneath the house had finally climbed out.